Hey there, how was your weekend? I hope it was good, because I've got a good video for you today. Let me know down in the comments how your weekend was and if you built anything. Today, we're going to take this cedar fence picket and we're going to learn how to make some money out of it. Everything that I build and sell, I write down in this little journal here. I write down the cut list and the assembly instructions. That way I can remember it and build it again. If you don't have a very good memory, this is a very convenient thing to do. I would suggest that you do it. Alright guys, let's get building. The first thing we're going to do, if your fence picket is really rough, put you some 80 grit sandpaper in your palm sander or rotary sander and just give it a light sanding. You don't want it all the way smooth. You want it kind of rough, but you don't want it terrible looking either. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to lay it down, take you some 80 grit sandpaper and just smooth it down just a little bit. This fence picket's really rough, so it might take a while, but we're going to start sanding now. If you're like me and you use a lot of cedar fence pickets, do you guys find that the later it gets in the year, the harder it is to find good ones? It's like the later in the year it gets, the worse the cedar fence pickets get. Now that we have our fence picket sanded down some, it occurs to me that I haven't even told you what we're making yet. We're making a rustic bluebird house. If you've been in one of my lives, you've seen the prototype that I had of it. But that's what we're going to do with this, and I'm going to walk you along. These sell pretty good in my area. I think they will in yours too. But we will walk through. First, we're going to go through our cuts. First thing you're going to want is to make sure you've got a square end on your fence picket. So just get it all the way back. I really need to build a recess into this table so that I have a little bit more stability. But this being such a small miter saw, I have to do some things to make it cut the way I want it to cut. But if you're cutting something that's just a hair too wide for your miter saw, you can always tilt it up just a little bit, not much. I wouldn't do it any more than maybe a quarter, half an inch, something like that. Any more than that might be a little bit risky, but I'd say that was okay. Check to make sure your end is square. Next thing we're going to do is do our bottom at 4 5/16 is what it comes out to. Go ahead and mark your board so you'll know roughly where it's going to be cutting at. And this is going to be the bottom of your birdhouse. Yeah, I think we will go through and redo my miter station for sure. I might even bring you guys along with me when I do it. That might be a good video for you guys. Alright, got it. And now on to the next cut, which is going to be the back at 15 inches. You will not use the entire fence picket for this. If you are batching these out, making multiples, you can set up a stop block, and that will save you a bunch of time and a bunch of effort. Oh crap. I know that was loud. I'm sorry. I apologize. I will mute the saw from here on. I didn't even think. 15 inches. Okay. Now, for our top, we're going to need, we'll go ahead and do our sides first. We need 10 inches long, and you need a 15-degree miter on one side. So, 10 inches, I'll go ahead and make that 10-inch mark. You don't need to mark it all the way across your board since this is going to be a miter cut. But your measurement's going to be from your long point to your square point. So, set your miter at 15 degrees. And line your mark up with your blade. So that the back of your blade right here comes to your mark. That's where you're going to make your cut at, cutting a miter on a miter saw. And now that you've got that cut, you'll have both of your miters you need. Just mark your square end down here. Set your miter saw back to 0 and cut at your mark. Alright. Now we've got our two sides with our 15-degree miter at 10 inches. Very good. Let's see, we've got our back, our sides, our bottom. We need our top and our front. And we really need to cut our top and front on the table saw because we need a bevel on both. We'll go ahead and shorten this piece out though, so we don't. Go ahead and whack you off about 17 or so inch piece. That way you got a little bit of room to play. When you get to your table saw, in case you have some trouble. Make that cut and head to your table saw. That leaves you with about 14 and 3/4 inches of a fence picket for another project. Now, let's go to the table saw. Now we're going to set our table saw up on a 15-degree bevel. And lock it down. Make sure our blade sticks up over our fence picket, but not too much. And make sure you have a push stick or a push block to do this with. Our top is going to be 8 inches. So we will measure it and mark it. Got our bevel set and locked down. Now we'll set our fence. After you get your fence set to the right measurement, check it to the tip of your blade. 8 inches. Alright. Square. You always use your square to make sure your fence is square when you lock it down. Check your measurement one more time. Alright, I believe we've got it. Now we're going to make our cut. And if I didn't say, the 8 inches will be from long to square. Now make sure you wear your safety glasses and be very careful when you cross cut on your table saw without a cross cut sled or a miter gauge, because it's a little bit iffy. But just take your time and pay attention and know where your hands are at all times. And always use a push block. Check your measurement. That gives you your 8 inches for the top. Maybe just a little bit short, but that's okay. That leaves you with a piece that has another 15-degree bevel that is 9 inches long, which you need to cut from the long point of your bevel down to 8.5 inches to the square point. Mark that out, and if you want to, take it back over to the miter saw and cut that. Now then, if you have any rough slivers from your saw cuts, take your hand sander and just knock them off real quick. Whichever side of the cedar fence picket was the roughest is going to be the inside of the bluebird house. So I guess I probably should have told you that before I let you cut everything, huh? The next thing you're going to do is drill a hole in your front for the birdies to fly into. Now the cleanest way that I have to cut this is a hole saw. I learned a lot about bluebirds during this build when I first done it. The lady had asked for bluebird houses, and I did not know there was a difference between bluebird houses and other bird houses. Bluebird houses do not need a perch because it helps other predators get into them. The hole has to be 1.5 inches to keep other birds and things from attacking and getting in there and taking over. It has to be left kind of rough so that the baby birds can climb up and down inside. And it has to be deeper than normal birdhouse. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drill our hole. 2 inches down from the short part of the bevel, so just lay the top part of the long end of your bevel down and measure down 2 inches from the short end of your bevel. Take a measure. Let's see. And then you're going to want it exactly in the middle. This fence picket is 5.5 inches, so that's 2 3/4. So where those 2 points meet is where you're going to drill your hole. Let's try you a little crosshair. Plug up your drill and drill your hole. You can clamp this down. Make sure you put something in under it, like a 2x4 block. I have a couple of 2x4 blocks here that I use for when I'm drilling holes. If you feel uncomfortable, clamp it down. If you have a center punch, you can press it down in your mark to give you a little bit of a start. I don't know exactly where mine went. Okay, I do not have my center punch wherever it's at. I have no clue, but I do have a little nail that I can use to punch my hole with. You don't have, this being cedar, you don't really have to hit it hard. Just put it down there and twist it around. And when you go to drill, just stick your drill bit in your hole there and start. And if you have a rotary tool or a small drum sander, you can check up in your drill or something and smooth that out. Please do. That's a little bit rough. Okay, with everything cut and cleaned up, guys, it is now assembly time. So we're going to use our brad nailer for this. And I've learned when you do this, it works out much better. I made a little jig to hold the sides while I put the back on. That helps a lot more than you would ever imagine. All it is a few strips of wood about the width of a cedar fence picket between them, and about the right distance so that when you set them down, it'll be where you need it. You're going to start with your back. So if you are looking at your bluebird house, your left side will stick down a little bit further than your right one by about an inch. So keep that in mind as you're doing this. And you're not going to brad nail your left side in. You're just using that as a spacer to hold it until you get done. And you're just going to try to eyeball it as even as possible from the top and the bottom. You can measure it and make it exact if you want. Over here on this side, it's about 2.5 inches there or so. Turn it around so you can see the other side, the side we're actually going to brad nail. Okay. Try to make it as even as you can. Two and 3/8. 2 3/8. That's pretty, almost 2 3/8. That's pretty close to being there. So shoot you a couple of brads in there. Just know where your fingers are at all times when you do this. You can also, if you want to, use some wood glue for this to help ensure it stays together if the wood was to warp. I don't see it happening, but I suppose it can. But just throw a few brads in it there. None of them came through. Alright. Now then. We will lay everything out and see what it is going to look like. You're going to want the top to lay even on that board. And then you're going to want your front even with that board and even with your roof like that. In order to do that, you may have to use the bottom as a spacer to hold it up for the time being, but I can't believe I haven't made anything for that. But go ahead and shoot some brads in your top, from your top into your side. Just one or two. Actually, you know what? You might want to go ahead and shoot them in the back first and then do the side, I believe is how I done it. You have to pay attention to what you're doing when you're snapping these brads in here because it's not hard to miss. And for some reason, I really seem to like to miss them. Okay, that'll hold the top for right now. Now, from the top to this side, just pay attention to the orientation of your brad nailer because you don't want brads to get crooked and pop through, if you can help it at all. Is it starting to look like a birdhouse yet, guys? Okay, I was just making sure the camera was still working. Okay, now for our front, we're going to set it up there. And we're going to need our bottom in here to hold it up while we get it stuck in place here. So square it up against the top there. And pop a brad right there in the corner, as far up as you can. I'm using 1-inch brads for this, by the way, if anybody's curious. Put one end down here at the bottom. Okay. And one or two in the middle here. Okay. Now for this side is a little bit different in the means that you're going to attach it. Because we need it to swing up so that you can clean it out every year. On the prototype, we have a dowel in a hole holding it in, and then the door swings open. It's just got a screw in the front and a screw in the back. And we need to drill some holes in the bottom for it to drain. I apologize. I should have done that a while ago, but I got in a hurry. We're going to drill 3 holes in the bottom in about a triangular shape. I apologize for the sound through this video. The new microphone I got is not quite working correctly, but I have to voice over because it went dead anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in our small drill bit for our pilot holes. We're going to put a screw in the front and back of the upper part of the side door that is going to swing open for you to clean out the nest. You don't want too big of screws because so you'll have less chance to run through them. When you find the appropriate size screw, drill your pilot hole through the front, then change over to your screwdriver bit and put your screw in. Now you're going to flip it over and do the same thing to the back on that side, making sure your screws are pretty well evenly lined up. And now you see how the side opens and closes so that you can clean out the nest every year. The next thing you're going to want to do is put in a bigger drill bit and drill through the front and into the side so that you can put a dowel rod in to hold the side closed. Drill easy. You don't want to run your drill out. You don't have to drill very deep, just deep enough for the dowel rod to get into. Now it's time to put your bottom in. It should be a pretty tight fit, and you're gonna slide it in, and you're gonna put brad nails through the back, the front, and the one side, the side that is hinged with the screws. You do not put brad nails through those. Now here you see how the dowel holds the side shut. It's a nice looking bluebird house, if I do say so myself. Let's give you a closer look here. See, you pull the dowel rod out to open the side. Close the side, put the dowel back in to lock it back in place. There you have it, guys. Rustic bluebird house. The top and bottom of the back extend out so that you can mount them. You can either put a screwdriver bit in your drill and drill through the top and bottom of the back and mount them to a fence or a tree, or put a U-bolt through the top and bottom and mount it to a pole. I sell these for $15. I could probably ask $20 and still sell them. You might could get by with asking $25 in some areas. If somebody makes a big order of like 10 or more, I'll sell them for $10 a piece. But that turns your $4 cedar fence picket into $15 to $25. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day. Keep building.